The Bible sitting on your shelf right now, someone decided what went in it, and it wasn't God. It was a group of men in a room voting. That might sound shocking, but it's historical fact. And here's what's even stranger. They didn't all agree. See, most people think the Bible just appeared, finished, complete, like it fell from heaven with a leather cover and gold-edged pages. But that's not what happened. For the first 300 years of Christianity, there was no official Bible, none. Christians had letters, they had gospels, they had stories passed down from the apostles, but there was no single book that everyone agreed was scripture. Different churches in different cities were reading different texts. Some communities loved the Gospel of John, others treasured the Shepherd of Hermas. The church in Egypt was reading books the church in Rome had never even heard of. It was chaotic, beautiful maybe, but chaotic. So what changed? In the year 325, a Roman emperor named Constantine called a meeting, the Council of Nicaea. This happened at a time when Christianity was shifting from a grassroots movement to an institution. But here's where it gets interesting. That council didn't actually decide which books belonged in the Bible. That process took decades, centuries even. The earliest list we have that matches the New Testament you know today, it's from a guy named Athanasius, a bishop in Egypt, in the year 367. 367 years after Jesus died. Think about that. For over 3 centuries, Christians didn't have a fixed Bible. They were following Jesus without one. So, who actually wrote these books? Let's start with the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? Wrong. Those names were added later. The Gospels themselves are anonymous. Scholars are pretty confident that none of them were written by eyewitnesses to Jesus' life. Mark, the earliest Gospel, was probably written around 70 AD, 40 years after the crucifixion, by someone who probably never met Jesus. Matthew and Luke came next, then John came last, probably around 90 to 100 AD. And it's so different from the other 3 that scholars still debate whether the author even knew about them. Though the story of Jesus' life and ministry circulated constantly within early Christian communities, told and retold in their gatherings, over time, people absorbed these accounts until they became part of a shared memory. This helps explain why, when the Gospels were finally written down, they reflect broadly similar narratives. The authors were not inventing stories from nothing, but drawing from traditions that had already taken shape through years of communal retelling. Here's the wild part. We don't have the originals, not a single one. Every manuscript we have is a copy of a copy of a copy. Scholars estimate there are more than 400,000 variations between ancient manuscripts of the New Testament. Most are tiny, spelling errors, word order, but some are big. The story of the woman caught in adultery, the one where Jesus says, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone," that's not in the earliest manuscripts of John. Someone added it later. The last 12 verses of Mark, where Jesus appears after the resurrection, also added. The famous verse about the Trinity in 1 John, not original. Now, does this mean the Bible is unreliable? Not necessarily. Most scholars, even secular ones, agree the New Testament is one of the best preserved ancient texts we have. But it does mean something else, something most churches don't talk about. The Bible you read today is the result of human decisions, copying, editing, translating, choosing. And some of those decisions were made for political reasons. When Christianity became the official religion of Rome, certain books were elevated, others were buried. Why? Because they didn't fit the empire's agenda or the political ambition of the influential bishops. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Judas, the Apocalypse of Peter. These weren't fringe texts. They were read in some churches, respected, loved. But they didn't make the cut. They were removed, burned, forgotten. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The decision about what was inspired and what wasn't, that wasn't based on some miraculous revelation. It was based on tradition, popularity, politics. Bishops argued, they debated, they voted. Does that make the Bible less sacred, or does it make the story of how we got it more human, more real? Because here's what I find fascinating. Early Christians didn't need a locked-down official Bible to transform the world. They didn't need a centralized authority to tell them what to believe. They had communities, they had the Spirit, they had each other. The explosion of Christianity in the first 3 centuries didn't happen because of an institution. It happened in homes, in neighborhoods, person to person. And maybe that's the most unsettling part of this whole story. Somewhere along the way, we traded that organic, spirit-led movement for something safer, more controlled. We put the Bible in a glass case and said, "Don't ask questions, just believe." But the people who gave us that Bible, they were asking questions, wrestling, debating, searching. Maybe we're supposed to do the same. So who wrote the Bible? Prophets, poets, apostles, scribes, editors, councils, people, imperfect, inspired, complicated people. And if you can sit with that, if you can hold the tension between divine inspiration and human fingerprints, you might just find something more beautiful than the neat, sanitized version you were handed. Because the Bible isn't just a book, it's a library, a conversation across centuries, a messy, miraculous collection of voices all trying to point to the same truth. And that truth, it was never meant to be locked in a building or controlled by an institution. It was always meant to be lived, shared, wrestled with. So maybe the real question isn't who wrote the Bible. Maybe it's who gets to decide what it means to the Christian life. And maybe that's a question only you can answer.